Next on Sisterhood of the Second Act. The United States population is aging, and according to the Joint Center of Housing Studies of Harvard University, in the next 2 decades, nearly 28 million people will join the 50 and over age group. As the country ages, the need for caregivers increases, and this duty often falls to family and friends. According to the CDC in Virginia, more than 22% of adults over 45 reported being a caregiver to a family member or a friend. Elder care is expensive, and that's why Elder Care Solutions helps families navigate the system to get the care they need in the most affordable way. Elder Care Solutions owner and CEO Kimberly Whiter has written a book on the subject. She's here today to talk about hacks for long-term care. And are you a foodie? Well, there's a program for that. It allows you to combine your love of food with community service. It's the Master Food Volunteer Program, and it teaches participants research-based knowledge of food preparation, nutrition, food safety, and physical activity. Virginia Cooperative Extension Agent Dawn Barnes is here to tell us more about it. We'll meet both women on this edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act.
I'm gonna be an oak tree.
I think I'll be a dogwood tree.
My kids said they'd be looking for a thorny tree from me.
With Evergreen, you can be a tree. Our biodegradable urn combines your ashes, natural soil additives, and a native tree of your choice. Be a tree and grow for tomorrow.
I want to be a tree.
Learn more at evergreenmemorialtrust.com.
Pat Lucas is committed to providing independent financial advice to help women build wealth and security. Call Pat at 540-798-8104, 540-798-8104. Securities and investment advisory services are offered solely through Equity Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, 4401 Starkey Road, Roanoke, Virginia 24018, 540-989-4600. Looking for your first home or retirement home? Realtor Monica Nicely can help you find it. Whether you're moving in or out of the Roanoke region, call Monica 540-449-2019, 540-449-2019. Alcova Mortgage Loan Officer Jonathan Sweat helps you seal the deal with a loan to suit your needs with great rates and terms. Call Jonathan 540-314-8843, 540-314-8843.
Alcova Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID number 40508, MLSConsumerAccess.org. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to credit approval.
Now from the Fox Radio Roanoke studios, this is Sisterhood of the Second Act. Welcome to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Denise Allen Membrano. If you've ever been a caregiver, then you know it can be stressful and exhausting, no matter how much you love the person in your care. 1 in 3 caregivers provides more than 20 hours of care a week, and sometimes that is with a full-time job. On top of that, the stress of meeting the high cost of elder care. That's where Kimberly Whiter comes in. She's the owner and CEO of Elder Care Solutions, and she's written a book, Hacks for Long-Term Care, Ideas for Tackling the Overwhelming Costs of Elder Care. And Kimberly, thank you so much for coming in today.
I'm so glad to be back.
Now, long-term listeners and viewers may realize that you've been in before. You were in about a year ago to talk about Elder Care Solutions. So if they haven't heard or they need a refresher, give us a little bit of an idea of what you all do at Elder Care Solutions.
I am really on a mission with this business to prevent aging and caring experiences from financially breaking families. And unfortunately, right now it is breaking families. I have a lot of families that will wonder, like, did we not plan well for this? Are we not good with our money? And that is not the case.
Costs go up.
Costs go up. We have huge gaps in our governmental support systems and also private support systems. This is not a failure of families. It's a failure of our supports.
Wow, well said. And it's such a stressful thing. You want to care for that person, but then when you have to balance the budget, it is difficult. So you started, you said it took you about a year to write this book. Mm-hmm. Tell us about why you decided to write a book. What was the need for writing a book?
Yeah, we were learning as we were helping people, and we were finding these little hacks like, ooh, this is a place where we can go and learn something very interesting. And I didn't want to just sit on that information and only use it in our work. I wanted to put it out into the world. And so people like to get their supports in different ways. Some people like really hands-on support, and so they come to me for my guidance sessions and they just tell me what life looks like and I give them ideas. And some people are much more independent and they just want to read about something and get started down a path. So I wanted to make sure I provided info out there in whatever way feels comfortable for the families.
Now, you said you didn't just write this book. Sure. You did everything. So.
I did. Yeah, I'm a really creative person, and so I've been in education for a long time. I was in higher ed for over a decade, and teaching to me is this beautiful mixture of like art and science, where I'm really trying to put out really complicated information, but I can do it in an artful way where it's easy to understand, but also like you can consume it well because it's kind of fun to go along with the graphics that we use or the way we break it up. And so it just felt important to me to do all parts of the book.
Now, you've been on this journey for a while. I mean, this isn't just your job. You've got tell us about your background, because it all leads up to Elder Care Solutions and this book.
Yeah, I was in higher ed for a while, and I was offered the position to come and run Elder Care Solutions in January of 2020, and I was, let me think about it. And I entered into a personal caregiving situation, and so I've witnessed firsthand how overwhelming it can be and how you are juggling so much at once. As well as, I've been a mom, and care is on that spectrum too for 13 years now. And so I know the juggle. I know how overwhelming it is. I know how hard it is to say I need help, because especially as women, we are messaged to that we have to carry it all, and we're failing when we can't. And it's absolutely okay to say this is breaking me right now. So it just felt really important to put myself out there where I could be that support for other people and to let them know this isn't a failure on their part. This is systems that exist in really tough ways to navigate, and you just need somebody to point you in the right direction. That's all.
And it gives people hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are talking with Elder Care Solutions owner and CEO Kimberly Whiter about the book she has written, which is called Hacks for Long-Term Care, Ideas for Tackling the Overwhelming Costs of Elder Care. Now, who is this book for?
Yeah, two demographics specifically. So there are aging people who are kind of looking into their future, and they know that they're going to have to think about care. One day they'll need it. So them. And then also the adult children to those aging people who know that they're going to step up and they're going to help their parents. They're going to be a part of the decision making and the process and even managing their finances. And they want to also find some answers and make sure that if they entered into care, it doesn't financially break them too. And so it's for both of those.
So what kind of information is inside?
Yeah, so I started off at the beginning with some really easy to understand education where I attacked the why. Why is this financially breaking families? What's going on right now? What exists right now? And I just lay it out there, and I say some hard truths about where we are in the United States and how we're not supporting our aging citizens very well. And then I get into the hacks. And so these are really concrete tips, very easy, like here's your next steps if you want to try to go down this path. And I even give like example cases on how it's worked for other families.
Wow, that is great. And you're right, we do not take care of our elderly in this country. It sounds like very valuable information. You also provide this in person through Elder Care Solutions. So when I saw you had written a book, I was wondering, I was like, are you pairing this with your business, or is this in place of coming to you?
Sure. So, and this in education, we have a theory called universal design of learning. So it's all about you put information out to students in that particular realm in a way that they're going to consume it best, and you can't guess. So maybe they like to read things or watch things or have a conversation about it. So same thing with the people who are going to engage Elder Care Solutions. They can use our platform. It's an educational platform online, and then take a more independent approach. They could grab the book and read it if that's what they like, is text in hand to read, or they can come to us and we'll take a super hands-on approach and they just tell us what's going on and we're like, here's some solutions for you. It's all there so that they can consume it in the way that feels the most comfortable for them.
That's great. Providing information is the basis of what you do. And I was going over your website before you came in today and saw that people are asking you, can I make money from caring for my loved one? And that really surprised me. So can you make money while caring for your...
You can. I'm really glad that this narrative has shifted. So even 2 years ago, I would suggest it to families that would come my way. And there was kind of like a gawking, like, I would never take money to pay, care for my aging loved one. It's a real solution, and it actually can be a very positive one for the entire family. And now that narrative's shifted to like, how can I get paid to care for them? And I'm so grateful for that. So can you? Yes. Please be wary of anyone who tells you that they have the answer for this, because it is not a single answer. It is multiple paths that you have to take and see, like, is this the answer? Yes or no, move on. It's kind of like a concept map. And so you have to walk through the steps to see, is this a viable option for our family unit? So what I did is I created a guide that walks families through that, because it was just nonstop the same question over and over. And I was like, this must be a real needed answer, right? So they can download that guide, and it's a checklist, and they go through step 1, step 2, step 3 to find out, like, will this work for us? Yes or no?
I was going to ask you, how does this book help them?
So that's a separate thing. That's a guide that I just created. And the more questions I get asked, the more guides I'll make, right? Because then we can just put really, really pointed information out there to people when it's obvious that that's what everybody's looking for.
Now, like you said, you've done a lot of research on this topic. So do you have any ideas or any advice for all of us? Because as the country gets older, these stressors are just going to increase. So is there anything that individuals can do to help make it better?
Sure. So first, calm yourself to know it's not a problem that you've had in your own planning, right? We, the United States, we do not have the systems in place to support families who are caring for their aging loved ones. And a lot of that comes from aging has changed rapidly. In one generation, we flipped what aging looked like on its head, like completely different. And none of the systems out there were ready for that. So the good news is there are solutions. There are some systems in place. They just exist in fragments and silos. So the bad news for families is that's really hard to navigate unless you have someone on your side who knows what they're looking for and knows what to look for. So my biggest support, and what I always tell, just find someone to be your navigator, to be your guide. You just want somebody who'll connect the dots to you. So yes, I've built a business around that, but there also are social workers, geriatric care managers, life care planning professionals that exist in medical offices and physician offices, rehab facilities, attorney offices. Ask around for those who also can be like those guides and navigators for you.
Kimberly, so much. We could probably spend 30 minutes with you. We really appreciate it. We've been talking with Kimberly Whiter. She's the CEO and owner of Elder Care Solutions. And we will have her contact information as well as a link to the book on our show notes at sisterhoodofthesecondAct.com. And when we come back, foodies, listen up. Turn your love of culinary delights into community service. We'll have more on the Master Food Volunteer Program right after this. Looking for your first home or retirement home? Realtor Monica Nicely can help you find it. Whether you're moving in or out of the Roanoke region, call Monica 540-449-2019, 540-449-2019. Alcova Mortgage Loan Officer Jonathan Sweat helps you seal the deal with the loan to suit your needs with great rates and terms. Call Jonathan 540-314-8843, 540-314-8843.
Alcova Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID number 40508, MLSConsumerAccess.org. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to credit approval.
Pat Lucas is committed to providing independent financial advice to help women build wealth and security. Call Pat at 540-798-8104, 540-798-8104. Securities and investment advisory services are offered solely through Equity Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, 4401 Starkey Road, Roanoke, Virginia 24018, 540-989-4600.
I'm going to be an oak tree.
I think I'll be a dogwood tree.
My kids said they be looking for a thorny tree from me.
With Evergreen, you can be a tree. Our biodegradable urn combines your ashes, natural soil additives, and a native tree of your choice. Be a tree and grow for tomorrow.
I want to be a tree.
Learn more at evergreenmemorialtrust.com.
Once again from the Fox Radio Roanoke Studios, Sisterhood of the Second Act. Welcome back to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Denise Allen Membrano. Now we're going to learn how we can turn our love of food, nutrition, physical activity, and helping others into a way of serving those in our community. And I'm talking about the Virginia Cooperative Extension Master Food Volunteer Program. Master Food Volunteers say they have fun, that they gain new skills, and sometimes they even move outside their comfort zones. In doing this, they say they receive more than they give. Now, joining us today is Virginia Cooperative Extension Agent Dawn Barnes, and Dawn had to drive here all the way from Floyd County, so thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate you making the drive and taking the time.
It's a lovely day to drive.
It is. It's a great time of the year to drive, too. Now, most people know that they can call Virginia Cooperative Extension about gardening. Mm-hmm. They might not think necessarily food. So tell us a little bit about the Master Food Volunteer Program. What is it?
So the Master Food Volunteer Program is obviously a program of volunteers that allow us to expand the reach of cooperative extension, and they address issues like food safety, nutrition and wellness, a little bit of food preservation possibly, just the general pieces of information around that love of food.
So how do you become a Master Food Volunteer? What do you have to do?
There's an application process. All of our volunteers have a background check. There is an interview process that goes on. One of the other things that's pretty key is the Master Food Volunteers, the programs are in counties where there is a family and consumer science extension agent. And we have some counties that don't have an agent at the moment. So that would be one of the restrictions, one of the things that might impede folks from being a volunteer.
Okay. I didn't realize you had to have a background check. Is that because they're out in the public and teaching?
All of our volunteers have to have a background check. And even the employees, when we're working with youth, have to have a background check. It's part of the safety that we want to assure that everybody's in a safe environment and there's no harm to anyone at any point.
So how much training and what type of training does it take?
There's 30 hours of training, and the things that they might be included in that training are nutrition and wellness in general, food safety, things like what are their different learning styles, and how might you put together a food demonstration. Both knowledge-based information, but also information that will help them be a stronger Master Food Volunteer.
Wow. And we are talking with Virginia Cooperative Extension Agent Dawn Barnes about the Master Food Volunteer Program. So who makes a good Master Food Volunteer?
We have had volunteers of all different personality traits. So I think the common thing that really is important is someone that likes people, because you're going to be working with people, primarily with adults, but from time to time we're able to work with some youth groups. And if they are comfortable around folks, then that's a perfect match for them.
Do you have to be a certain age?
Oh, by no means. No, not to be a volunteer.
Wow, that's, I guess, like you said, it takes all type of people. I watched, there are videos online that you can watch about the program. And that was one of the things I saw. It seemed like it was across the spectrum.
Oh, most definitely. Well, we have folks that are retirees, new retirees, and are looking for something to do in their community. We have folks that were teachers that want to continue to teach, others that have an interest in food and nutrition as a whole and want to share the knowledge with others. So there's a wide range of background and interest level why people come to us for the program.
One thing that just came to mind, do you have to have certain physical abilities to be a Master Food Volunteer?
No, most definitely not.
So it's open to everyone.
Cooperative Extension is a program open to all individuals.
So how do Master Food volunteers serve the community?
They are presenting programs, they're helping at health fairs that we might have a booth set up. They may be leading a series of educational information. They may do some one-on-one programs along the way also.
And you mentioned programs. What
Yes.
types of programs?
So anything from basic nutrition or what are some alternatives to sugary drinks? How do you prepare food? Not all of us grew up cooking, and so that's a skill that some are still learning. How do you use a new appliance? The multi-cookers is a pretty popular appliance right now, but because there is pressure involved, a lot of people are a little leery of them. And so they like to have that hands-on experience so they feel a bit more comfortable with it before they go home and use them.
I think the pandemic made people, if they didn't know how to cook, want to learn, because all of a sudden you were at home and you had food. I was like, what do I do with it?
Exactly, and things were not open, so you couldn't depend on going by wherever your favorite spot was to purchase something.
So does that mean you're seeing a little more interest in it now that everybody's back in person?
I think we have been seeing some more interest both in food preparation and also we've seen an increase in the interest in food preservation, so canning in particular, whether it be boiling water bath or pressure canning.
Okay. We are talking with Virginia Cooperative Extension Agent Dawn Barnes about the Master Food Volunteer Program. And why does the Virginia Cooperative Extension do this program, and what's the goal?
Cooperative Extension and volunteers have a relationship back to the very beginning, and we're just under the national system, just under 110 years old.
Wow.
And if it weren't for volunteers, we couldn't do the things that we do. You know, one person can only reach so many other people in the community, but you throw in 3 or 4 more volunteers, and more people are receiving the research-based information that we have available.
Yeah, and it's such a important organization. I call them several times a year, mostly about gardening, but I call them several times a year. So what kinds of positive changes? We mentioned in the open how people, notice all these changes in themselves. What kind of changes have you seen in the Master Food volunteers you've worked with?
Some of it's a knowledge base. I didn't know. It's good to know that, that piece of information. Some is a strength in their confidence. They might have started out, well, I think I can do, and by the year that they're in their volunteer year, they're out doing things on their own. Didn't think they'd ever be able to do that before. We've had a couple that have been able to use some of the information and then create a business for themselves, and after they've left the volunteer.
All of that is exciting because it just shows so much personal growth, where you might not have expected. You expect to learn the food stuff.
Correct.
But you don't expect to gain all of this other thing, like, confidence, a new business, things like that.
Well, and usually the volunteers are not doing it necessarily for themselves. They want to get out and do something, help the people, get out in the community. And I think sometimes they're amazed at how much there is personal growth that comes along with it also.
Now, how long have you been an extension agent?
I've been an extension agent for 35 years.
So tell us a little more about Virginia Cooperative Extension.
Sure. So as I mentioned, we're just short of 110 years old. It's a national program. We are tied into the land-grant universities. So for us here in Virginia, that's Virginia Tech and Virginia State University in Petersburg. And our mission is to take the information from the land-grant universities out into the public. We have a 4-H youth development programming, the agricultural natural resources program, the gardening would be one of the things they would be doing. Depending on the unit or the office, they may be helping you grow your lambs into sheep, or what you might do for the chickens and how to make sure that they're going to be good producers. And then my program is Family Consumer Sciences. And just to give you an idea, it can vary. And again, it's to meet the needs of the community. But in the last week or so, I have conducted a Serve Safe Managers food program that's in partnership with the health department. That's what's required for the restaurants. We just did a pressure canning workshop. Tonight I'm going back, and I'll be working with a small group as they work on their personal spending and savings plan. So from day
Wow.
to day, yes, it's not the same, and that's one of the things I really enjoyed about it. It's not the same thing day in and day out. New people, new topics.
That was one of the things I was going to ask you. What do you find most satisfying about your job? But if you go from gardening to food to finance, that's a varied job.
But it's the aha moment. It's when someone comes to me, 2 days later or 3 years later and says, because of whatever the topic might have been or whatever the point in the presentation might have been, I have now been able to make a difference in what I eat, or be able to save up for whatever their goal was, or be able to feel confident that the foods that they are preserving at home are going to be safe for their family.
Wow, that does sound like it would be very satisfying and rewarding in every way. So getting back to Master Food Volunteers, if someone wants to be a Master Food Volunteer, what do they need to do?
So there's two different options. One, Lester Schoenberger is our state specialist. You can email him, and his email is HLSCHON at vt.edu, or just go to our website, which is also filled with lots of information and publications that people can go to, and that's ext.vt.edu, and you can find an interest form on that one that folks can fill out, and then that will go to Lester, and a response will be sent out.
And we will also include that. We will include a link to Virginia Cooperative Extension in our show notes, so that they can read that at sisterhoodofthesecondact.com. And Dawn, thank you so much for coming in today. We really appreciate the information.
Welcome. It was a pleasure.
And we will be back to wrap up the show after this.
In a region known for its beautiful mountain surroundings, our vibrant arts community makes the Allegheny Highlands a more colorful place to live and visit. Our passion for the arts is endless, and it's uniquely Allegheny.
Cabby Fashions take you from the boardroom to the beach. Dress for a garden party or a night on the town. Independent cabby stylist Darlene Marshall will make sure you look your best no matter what the occasion. She'll bring the store to your home for you and your friends, or schedule a private consultation. Call Darlene 540-330-6819, 540-330-6819, or find her on Instagram at Dapper Darling, on Facebook at Darlene Marshall Independent Cabby Stylist.
See where a grateful nation remembers its heroes, and where Thomas Jefferson came to relax. Where small town charm is just down the road from big outdoor adventures. Find peace and quiet, as well as the sounds of family fun. Destination Bedford is located where the Piedmont Plateau meets the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. Where ordinary ends, Bedford begins.
I would like to thank Kimberly Whiter and Dawn Barnes for being with us today. Kimberly introduced us to her new book, Hacks for Long-Term Care, which helps families tackle the high cost of elder care. And from Dawn, we learned that if we have a passion for food, we can use that passion to help others through the Master Food Volunteer Program. I'm Denise Allen Membreno. We'll see you next time on another edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act.